And happy Tuesday evening, everyone. I bet y'all thought we weren't having a second show today. Surprise! But we're here with Paul today, and we're going to talk about his one book, The Sunset Distortion, and possibly stuff that might be coming out soon. So, hello, Paul. How are you today?
What's up, Greg? How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
Can I just say, I love your theme song.
Thank you.
I was just like, give it to me. Give it to me.
I have to give credit where credit is due, and that was Amy's choice of the theme song. So,
all right. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I'm a fan of rock music. It's it's kind of an out there guess to throw that out there. But yeah, I liked it.
Nothing wrong with that. Do love the music. So, Amy, good choice there. So let's talk about your first book, The Sunset Distortion. Tell us about it a little bit.
A book also about rock and roll, actually.
There we go.
So nice little segue in. So my debut novel, Sunset Distortion, is about Laser. Laser is middle-aged, almost made it thrash rock guitarist. Band got so close and then didn't happen. But he still lives that rock and roll lifestyle, even though it never really panned out for him. So he plays in a heavy metal cover band on the Sunset Strip. Until one night he gets abducted by space aliens and all bets are off. So it's so he's kind of a little, I don't want to use the term burnout, but he's definitely lost a step or two from a lifetime of substances and hard partying. And he gets thrown into this mix with several different interested parties looking for this object that grants its holder infinite life. And what infinite life actually means, that's for you to discover in this story.
That right there can work.
Yeah, so it's got robots and aliens and interdimensional brain leeches and space Mormons and all sorts of weird stuff. You'll love it.
So what got you into writing?
I've been a big fan of writing ever since I was in middle school. I entered my 6th grade short story competition and won it. I was very excited. And then I went to college, got my degree, and I got into grant writing. And so I spent 10 years writing grants. And while writing professionally is fun, grant writing is an awful, awful slog that slowly crushes you from the inside. So I've always played in rock bands, and that was kind of my creative outlet. And, did the tours, did the records, did all that stuff. And then it hit a point in my life where practicing 4 times a week and doing a bunch of stuff just really wasn't as feasible or enjoyable. And so after my last band broke up, I was like, I'm tired of trying to rope a bunch of people into band practice and all this other nonsense. And no, I need to stand in the front. No, I need to stand in the front. Well, I need my solo. We'll give you. So I said, the next creative thing I do is going to involve no other people, please and thank you. So I had this book was actually a short story I wrote in college, and so I turned that short story with a friend into a comic, and we did the first issue and we shopped it around, and I thought it was great, and we got some good feedback on the story, but people didn't really like his art, and I thought the art was great. He's actually the one who did the cover of the novel. And so like his art was awesome. And I'm like, these people are all idiots. We just have to keep going out there and shopping it around. You can't give up after the first day, but that's exactly what he did. We did one convention. He got a bunch of no's and said, I'm never doing this again. And he quit. And I was like, you got to be a little more willing for disappointment than that. So the whole project just kind of went on the shelf. while I did band stuff and work stuff. And then I, after the last band broke up, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to finally turn this into the novel I always promised myself I would. So over the course of 4 years, I fleshed it out, wrote it, rewrote it again, rewrote it again, rewrote it again, rewrote it again, and kind of sculpted it into the novel it is.
And I do know about those editing processes. They are not
I
fun.
love editing.
People
complain about it. I love editing. I think editing is great, and I think that it's only overwhelming if you go into it without a clear vision of what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I guess, like you said, you keep going and going and going. It's like, to me, it's like, okay, I've read this book 5 times now. I wrote it. So when you go through it so much, I think that's what kind of gets the brain set. Like, no, I can't. I can't do this again. I can't do this again.
I have not read it since I published it. I was like, I can't. I'm done with this. I need to do something else. So I actually wrote the sequel to it, and now I'm just sitting on it because I don't want my second book to be just a continuation of the series. I want people to have a new entry point into what I'm doing. So
it's not really going to be. It's a sequel, but it's from a different.
Well, no. This book is meant to have 5 parts.
Okay.
5 parts. And they've all been, fleshed out in terms of like their structure and who the villains are and what are the plot points.
Okay.
And so the second book is written with the exception of like the last 50 pages. And I got close to the end and then I said, but you know what? I don't want this to be my second novel because the only people who will read it will be people who already read the first one, assuming that they want to read the second one. So I said, I need something entirely different, a new entry point into my writing. And so that's what I did. So I started writing a ton of short fiction, horror, sci-fi, stuff like that. And then I turned around and I said, oh, shoot, I've got a whole book's worth of short stories. And so that's going to be my next release. It's going to be called The Electric Graveyard. And it's got, stories about robots and monsters and, weird fun stuff.
That definitely sounds pretty cool right there.
Heck yeah.
Now, going back to earlier where you said conventions and a lot of people were saying no. One, I guess you do go to conventions, obviously. But 2, you really do have to have rhino skin because people are critics, good and bad. So, I mean, you do have to have thick skin because you're going to get the worst of the worst.
I used to play in a rock band. I've had people flip me off while I was on stage. I've been booed. I've had stuff thrown at me. Like I was like, the critiques you get from the writing community is like a gentle pat on the head compared to the type of no's you get from drunken, rowdy audiences at rock clubs. So I had one time we were on tour, and this was in like the late aughts. Mid-aughts, like this is like maybe I'll say 2006, 2007, around there. And our band was like hard rock, like some blues and alternative kind of under basing it, but like in that vein. And we were on tour and we were playing with just a bunch of hardcore bands. Now I love hardcore music, but I'm even wearing my Turnstile shirt. So I mean, I love hardcore. I'm all about it. But this was like the screamo hardcore scene stuff. And man, if you didn't play exactly that sound, they hated you. And I remember we played this one club and there was probably 300 people there, but they all stood in the back of the room. It was the weirdest thing for like a place to be as full as it was. Yet there was like a row or 2 of people in the front who were actually like, there to see us. And then it was just like, just empty. And then just everyone around the back. And there were a group of guys who were just like, they folded their arms and they turned around. So we're playing to their backs. And I'm just like, whatever. I mean, if that's what it is, whatever, I'm going to do my thing. And so we played the show and so everyone kind of scattered and we, the next hardcore band went on and I was sitting at the merch table and it was surreal because we're sitting there. And one by one, people are coming up and be like, hey, I don't know about my friends, but I thought you guys were pretty cool. And I just want to say, good show. And then he'd leave. And then there'd be another group, and some guy would kind of come up like, "Hey, bro, great set. I know, my friends are kind of dicks, but I really liked it." And like that was happening all night. People not wanting their friends to see that they liked it would come up and tell us they liked it, and I was like, "This is so weird." But yeah, it's nothing.
That's got to be wild.
Yeah, definitely.
So when is the next book coming out?
The hope is to have it out before Halloween. We'll see. I'm in the beta reader kind of phase of it right now. So once I'm done with that, then it goes off to the actual editing service. And next thing you know, boom, it's out.
The fun begins.
The fun begins. I mean, it's all fun. I love it. I love writing books. I love telling stories. I think it's the best thing in the world. And if other people want to read it, like, yay, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, we had a talk before the show, and I think me and you should do a show maybe one of these days on what we've been through.
Yeah, you tell me, buddy. You know how to get a hold of me.
Oh, definitely. But where can people find you at?
Online, Amazon, online Barnes and Noble, that whole thing. I specifically went straight to self-publish. I started submitting to different publishers, and I came from the world of rock and roll and bands, and it is like entirely backwards from the way things work in books. I'm still I'm still learning a lot about like just the business of it and how everything works, and how people you will spend your life submitting to publishers. While your thing just while your manuscript just grows mold on your computer. I don't know. And so my neighbor, she's a brilliant woman, and she's a college professor, and she wrote a memoir right around the same time I finished Sunset Distortion. And so we were kind of like, okay, what kind of publishers are you submitting to? What are your tips and da. And we were kind of giving each other advice. And so I started submitting and, not even getting replies back. And I said, these guys are busy. It is what it is. I'm not too desperate for it. And then I just had this epiphany. It's like, and people say, oh yeah, it takes years sometimes. I'm like, look, I don't have to pay my bills with books, man. I just want people to read the damn thing. I'm just going to send it out to the world. Out you go. And so I released it, and, I got some really good reception, and people liked it, and I've, sold copies. And, I talked to her. I'm like, how are things going? She's like, yeah, I'm still looking for publishers. I'm just like, I've already got my next book queued up. Come on. So I think, there's no wrong way and there's no wrong answer. And everyone kind of wants something different out of being a writer. And it's all okay. It's, if you want to be published and be sold in airports and have your books turned into Netflix series, like, God bless you. And I hope that happens. But if you just got it burning a hole in your pocket, you want it to see the light of day, go do it.
Well, that's another thing that people don't actually look up. A lot of these publishers, especially the high ones, like they say you're not allowed to actually submit your book to any other publishers. So you actually have to sit there and wait for them to review it for 2 to 3 months before you can even submit it to another person, depending on their answer.
Right.
So it's like,
I'm not about that life.
You actually do have to read the fine print, and it's like, I read all that, and it's like, no, I'm actually going to just self-publish.
It's the way to go. Oh my God, this is just, it's brilliant. I wish back in my rock and roll days that I had the access to the tools and everything that you have with like new social media. Like people ask me like, like, oh yeah, can I find your stuff on Spotify? I'm like, we broke up before Spotify was
even a thing.
Just that, but yeah, I mean, it's, sorry, everyone's calling me. It is the story of my life. But that, but you know what I mean? It's very liberating or refreshing, or just like, it's convenient maybe. I don't know. If your main goal is just to get the work out into the world, cut the bullshit. Just go do it.
So everyone, please go check him out on Amazon. His books are there. Do you have a website?
PaulBahouWrites.com. And it's almost built. It's almost up, almost the story of our lives, right?
Right.
But I do interact with people on my Facebook page. So facebook.com/Paul Bahao writes. Come chat it up over there. And yeah, I'm not too scary. Unless I'm writing about scary stuff.
There we go.
Then one would hope.
But everyone, we will be on Saturday with Black Hills Con, and that will be, of course, their shows in South Dakota. And we look forward to seeing y'all on Saturday. That will be 11 a.m. Central Time. And until our next show, adios.